Moving on, for our first episode, we have a very special and decorated guest and who has kind of graced us with his presence. And to me, he is so amazing. Please, everybody, welcome Sebastian Garcia,
What's
aka
up?
Rufio Hooks.
What's up, man? How's it going, brother?
What's up, man? I'm so excited to introduce you. And I'm just going to tell the people a little bit about what you do because I'm kind of like reading this too. And I did not know you were this freaking awesome, dude. So,
thanks,
so
man.
I'm going to read off this crazy list of accomplishments. So Sebastian Garcia, aka Rufio Hooks, is a Nashville-based top liner that writes lyrics, melodies, and sings. His first major label hit was Butter with BTS, which spent 10 weeks at #1 on Billboard Hot 100 charts and has over 1 billion streams on Spotify. Sebastian has also worked with artists including Miyavi, Atlas, Gravity, Pitbull, Minho, Bailey Zimmerman, CRFW, Breland, Big Time Rush, Stefflon Don, Chris Brown, and Gray. And Beomhan.
And Beomhan, let's go, dude.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for gracing us with your time. And I wanted to tell everyone kind of like what it was like to work with you and kind of just bring the behind the scenes to the front and kind of just tell everybody your story, you know?
Awesome, man. Thank you, brother. I mean, I appreciate you having me, bro. It's an awesome experience, you know, to be able to get in the studio with artists and, you know, and to be able to like kind of open up with them. So I appreciate you having me so I'll be able to talk about it a little bit, you know?
Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
Man, I think like professionally on like this scale, probably maybe 4 or 5 years now. But I mean, I think everything I did beforehand is kind of what prepared me for the opportunities that I have now. So, I mean, that's I would say professionally 4 or 5 years, but before that, I mean, probably 15 years, my whole life been chasing it, I guess.
Yeah. You've just been writing your whole life?
Yeah, man. I think most writers and songwriters, they kind of go from being artists to then becoming songwriters as well. So it's like I've been writing and being an artist and expressing myself creatively probably since I was like 10 or 12, man.
That's beautiful. I feel like everybody has like their art, everyone has like their passion. And I think for you to be able to like kind of like pursue that professionally and like kind of come to like kind of be able to like get to like a level where you can like just do it at such like a grand scale, you know, I think it's awesome. So
yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I mean, I'm beyond grateful, you know, that people have, you know, I've been able to work with so many people, and it's like the fact that they want to even open up and share a side of their life that we get to talk about and put into a song is like unreal. I pinch myself every day about it.
Yeah. So you write closely with artists, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when we were in the studio, you were talking something about like, oh, it's like something that makes you happy is being able to see an artist like bring their vision to life through you, and you kind of assisting in that. Like, can you tell me about that? Like,
yeah, man. I mean, I personally think like, you know, like when we were in the studio, yeah, as I was saying, like, when people gravitate towards a song and they kind of like feel a certain type of way as we're building it up, we're creating it from scratch. Like, it's really awesome to be able to be just kind of a little bit of a tool for the artist to say, hey, I want to say this. And then maybe I have the opportunity to say, well, what does that mean to you? And then sometimes making the way they see it and then me putting my perspective to it is like, it helps them be like, oh, wow, I never looked at it that way. And that to me is my favorite part is like, we both can look at a chair or a painting. The painting hits you differently than it hits me. And it's our job in the studio to be able to find a synergy between both of those in order to make like an awesome painting or an awesome song, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that's something like uniquely to you or like kind of shared between all songwriters?
Oh, no, that's tough to say.
Okay.
I definitely, I mean, it could be, and maybe not. I don't know. Maybe everybody else feels the same way. But like, I think people look at songwriting and approach their careers in songwriting all in different ways. You know, some people look at it as, I go in from, sometimes if you're in Nashville, maybe 11 o'clock till
Hmm.
4 o'clock, and then they clock out,
Wow.
and, and they become someone else. Some
Uh-huh.
people, it is 24/7 for them.
Okay. Okay.
It's going in, writing, and then leaving and listening to that song 500 times and being like, dang, this could have been better. So I
Okay.
think sometimes when approach creativity differently, and I mean, I'm just lucky enough that for me, it's I think it's 24/7 for me, pretty
Okay.
much.
Yeah. The reason I asked this is because like I think personally you are super like personable. Like the
Thank you,
first time I
man.
met you, I remember I felt like I was just hanging out with one of my friends from high school,
Let's
and
go.
then
Let's
we were
go.
kicking it. You were like drinking like a Red Bull and like all this stuff. Like you were dressed exactly like this in like the studio. And then I remember Damon, my manager, he pulled me aside and was like, dude, like this guy is a big deal. Like,
Oh
no, this
man.
this guy like you're in the presence of something great right now. I'm like, oh, the guy drinking the Red Bull right now. And
Yeah,
I think like
I probably was definitely drinking a Red Bull and probably eating a sandwich or something,
yeah,
because I
yep,
definitely normally
yep.
have food when I'm walking in the studio.
Yeah. So I was like, I think like that comes through in your art, and I think you're able to show that and like channel that energy through people and like the songs and all this stuff. So I think that's awesome.
Thank you, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think again, I kind of go back to the fact that like, uh, to me, I'm grateful that I'm doing this every day. And so like when I
Hmm.
get to be in the room with somebody, like you're getting 150% of everything that I am when we're
Wow.
there.
Wow.
Hmm. But thank you, man. I appreciate those words.
Okay. Have you had a moment where you felt like starstruck by someone that you've been in the studio with? Where you like you
Uh,
haven't been able to be yourself?
y- well, I mean, I would say one was like my homies Gray, because they're both two amazing songwriters, producers, and I mean they wrote one of my favorite songs of all time called "Meet Me in the Middle,"
Okay.
and I remember like kind of telling them like, hey, like my starstruckness is not so much in the artist as much as it is in like songwriters and producers. I really nerd out on that.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah, I'm like, yo, that person wrote freaking one of my favorite songs. That person wrote for Chris Brown. That person wrote for Justin Bieber. And those types of things to me are the ones that affect me. So probably like Gray, yeah, because they had just wrote "Meet Me in the Middle" with Marin and Zed, and it won Song of the Year for the Grammys, and that's the biggest award you can get as a songwriter, you
Wow.
know. And
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
going over their house before I went over there, I gave myself a little pep talk in the car, and I was just like, "Hey,
Here we go.
try not to be nervous." And
Right.
luckily, they were such professionals that they helped me also like feel comfortable, and maybe that's why I feel like I always want to try to do that to everybody else, because the more you make people feel comfortable, the more people are willing to try to make mistakes, and I think mistakes
Hmm.
always become learning lessons if you approach them that
Hmm.
way.
Hmm. And this is a K-pop podcast, and I feel like one of the biggest differences I felt like when I was recording in America here, like with you, rather than like recording in Korea, and like no knock on like Korea, and like they have like their own standard and their own culture of like how they do stuff, but it's very like 딱딱해, like it's very strict,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like
I think they work hard. It's
yeah,
just a
yeah,
culture that really, really works hard, man. And
uh-huh,
it's and honestly, like I did a lot of like studying when I went to Korea. A buddy of mine named Ryan June,
hmm,
he was putting on a camp out there, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of it. Shout out to Ryan for having me a part of that, and I got to meet such amazing people. But one thing I really immersed myself was in learning that like the Korean culture, like they really work hard, and it's almost normalized. Like six
hmm,
days a week is like
hmm,
normalized. Like that's not hard. That is just standard there,
uh-huh,
and so that's why I think sometimes it's like I remember going out there and we were working every day. We were
hmm,
like, it wasn't, some people think like we just go in the studio and just like party or like, let loose like what they think it is.
uh-huh,
But
uh-huh,
no, man, it was every day, all day from morning till nighttime. But when it's your passion, it's not really, it doesn't feel like work.
hmm,
It's
hmm,
just, it feels like,
yeah,
dang, like we could be anywhere else in the world, but we're
uh-huh,
right here in the studio
right,
trying to make magic.
right. Yeah, well, so you went to Korea to like do this camp and like all this stuff. Like, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, man. It's I feel like a lot of the K-pop labels and K-pop publishing companies do that a
Okay.
good bit. You know,
Okay.
they put on camps out there. You know, some people go out there for a week, some people go out there for 2 weeks, and you know, it's every day you're getting to work with new people from all walks of life, from Norway, from
Okay.
Sweden. Some of the best writers are from Sweden. Some of my favorite writers are from Norway and
Oh
Sweden,
wow. Oh wow.
honestly. And so you get to meet all those types of people, and then, you know, they give you ideas of where
Uh-huh.
these are the labels that are looking, these are the artists that are looking, and
Uh-huh.
you kind of dive in and you hopefully try to write something that they will like, and they can start making it into their own magic as well. You know.
Wow. Wow. So and you guys
Mhm.
like congregate in Korea? Like
Yes, yes. I think that that's
okay.
the South Korea is the Mecca, bro.
Okay.
Seoul is no,
Okay.
no, but
Yeah.
no, but yeah, man. We all just they normally, some of the camps are out there. I
Hmm.
mean, some of them don't have to be in Seoul, Korea. Like some of the
Right.
camps, they hold them in Germany. I've seen some held
Okay.
in Switzerland. The
Uh-huh.
good thing about music industry right now is it's after COVID, it's become more, I guess, socially acceptable to like write with people from across, like from across the pond. You know,
Oh
you can
yeah.
write with people in Europe while
Right.
we're out here in Nashville.
Oh, that's
Before that,
awesome.
I never really ever did that, and
Okay.
now it's kind of normal. Like it's not a problem. Before it used to feel a little weird. Now
Uh-huh.
it's a little more normal, I guess.
So I because this to me this is so cool. Like I've never like explored this songwriting side. You know, like I'm more in tune with like the dancing stuff, like how people put together like these choreographies and like all this stuff. Like,
Mhm.
so you're telling me, okay, this is from how I understand it. You're telling me someone gets a camp together, right, and then
Mhm.
they tell you who's looking for music right now. Like for
Yeah,
example, like maybe a company or like a group,
yeah,
like let's say NCT is looking for music
yeah, yeah.
and you guys are in this camp kind of like workshopping stuff and then trying to be like okay let's write this song for NCT and then you kind of pitch it to them. If they like it they'll take it. If they don't like it they
Yeah.
won't take it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's almost to the point where it's like if they like it, they'll take it, but they always come back with, you know, edits
Okay.
and hey,
Okay.
because at the end of the day, when you write a song,
Uh-huh.
you want it to make it be relatable to them,
Okay.
but if they're not always from the start, if they're not in the room,
Mm-hmm.
they have to
Mm,
hear it and then be like,
mm.
okay, now this is the way I would say it, and this is maybe something that is more personable to me, and then that kind of goes into another rewrite process. Okay, well, let's rewrite it the way you would say it, and that's what becomes very unique and interesting. So the
Okay.
cancer to start the ideas, and then the artist gets to put their expression behind it, and then
Wow.
we work back and forth to make sure that
Wow.
it cohesively works together.
Uh-huh. How long does this process usually take? If it's
Uh,
from camp to like boom you hear it on radio.
Oh, that's that. Now that just depends, man. I mean,
Okay.
it can be different many times. I know when it was with Butter and BTS, that was
Hmm.
a faster process.
Okay.
That one, they also work so ridiculously
Oh
hard.
my
Like
gosh, yeah.
BTS, like those guys were in the studio, then playing shows, then practicing rehearsal, like filming content, like
Hmm.
so they work at a very fast pace, like workflow.
Uh-huh.
But not saying that other people do not; they also do as well. So sometimes it can be like a song can take 3 years to come to life.
Oh
Sometimes it
wow.
could take 6 months.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I think like the key is really just trying to write. At least for me, I try to write quality songs, but as
Hmm.
well, like the workflow is like I want to keep writing because you never know.
Hmm.
Sometimes a song you think is a hit now,
Uh-huh.
maybe it's a hit right now, but in two
Right. Yeah, in
years
two
could
years
be,
when it comes out. Yeah.
yes, it could be the smash. Everything, the hardest thing to do in this music industry is time things. You just kind of have to let it happen and see if the universe and the world wants to hear it or not, you know?
Yeah. Wow. It's kind of like writing ahead of the current time a little bit because you know it's going to come out later.
A hundred
Wow.
percent, man. So every time I get in the room with like an artist that I've never had like the privilege of working with,
Hmm.
I don't ever say, "Hey, play me what you have out." I just
Right.
say, "Play me what you think is exciting to you right
Okay.
now."
Okay.
Because whatever, if I'm working with somebody, whatever they have out,
Uh-huh.
most of the times they're already moved on, and they want to do something new and something fresh. So
Yeah.
everything's always about, I think, writing ahead of the curve, writing what you
Uh-huh.
think, and also just trusting your gut.
Uh-huh.
I try a lot to just write what I also believe to be cool.
Mhm.
And I think that that's very important, because a lot of the times people want to write what they think other people will think is cool. I
Right.
just try to write what I think would be cool.
Uh-huh.
And hopefully I can live with that.
Uh-huh.
And instead of just trying to be cool, just hopefully what I think is
Mhm.
cool, hopefully resonates with other people.
Uh-huh. I think it's cool how passionate and involved you are in your own art and how seriously you take the art aspect of it and making it feel good, you know? Like for
Thank you,
example,
man.
like I think there's a like a difference with K-pop in that I see K-pop as a vessel for all these different creatives to come through, and then K-pop is the platform that kind of elevates it, you know?
Yeah.
So like for example, like you mentioned that BTS, they work super hard on their promotions, their content, and like all these things, and like also their own music. And it's like they developed this fan base that whereas like, oh, once they have like an engine where you guys are the engine, like the songwriters, the choreographers, and like all these things, like once that engine starts running, is like it's like a big machine. Like for example, like when you were writing Butter, right, for BTS, and then you saw it take off with like the choreography, the big music videos, like all the streams that were coming in. It's different from working with like a Western artist, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, I think the levels, they're different styles of music. The
Mhm.
level of choreography is, it depends. So if you're writing with a pop like Tate McRae does a lot of choreography in her
Right,
stuff.
right.
But the choreo, I mean, to me, I've just found the dancers out there, the choreography's on. It's intense, man. Like they really know how to dance.
Mhm.
Like really, really amazing. And then the level of content, the level of how many people were listening to me was like, it blew me away, man. It blew
Mhm.
me away. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. So
Mhm.
it was definitely on a whole nother level, honestly.
Wow. How did it feel seeing like seeing that complete project for the first time on that scale?
Very, very, very emotional. Like
Oh yeah.
beyond grateful.
Uh-huh.
Thankful that I was able to be like a small piece of such a big journey. Like to me
Uh-huh.
means thing. And yeah, very emotional. Just like I definitely cried a good bit for sure. Because I mean, you just don't know. Like you don't know when you're ever going to get an opportunity like that again. And
Right.
it's very few people on this earth ever get a chance to do that. So for
Yeah.
me, it's like
Yeah.
maybe some of the overwhelmingness came from like kind of me just wondering. I always ask this question, like, why me? There's millions
Uh-huh.
of people on this earth,
Uh-huh.
billions of people on this earth, and I was one of the ones that got the honor and the privilege to experience a moment like that. So when I ask why me, I always wonder how I can give back to the songwriting community that changed my life. And like,
Uh-huh.
so maybe that's where a lot of the emotions came from. It's like now I feel almost a pressure of like, how
Mhm.
can I help somebody else try to achieve or feel that moment, that dream for a little bit, like for at least once in their life. And if I
Mhm.
can do that to somebody else now, that'll probably mean more to me than this hit could ever mean to me, honestly.
Wow. Wow. Well,
That's probably where a lot of the passion comes from for sure.
yeah. Is there like a particular like hardship you remember as like a songwriter like kind of coming up that like kind of like helps shape that mindset?
Yeah, man. 100%. I think like just growing up in general and like you're seeing that this is something you want to do, but like there's being a songwriter, like it was such a weird, like there's no bluept.
Right,
It's like,
right. No,
hey, yeah, figure
seriously.
it out. You can do this, you can do that, but like nobody knows the surefire right way to do it. Like
Mhm.
and I think it was very scary and it was very like lonely knowing that you go into these rooms and you're technically in a way like pimping yourself out, kind of like you're just like, hey,
Okay.
hopefully I'm cool enough for you to want to write with me again. And
Right, right.
and and then at the same time, it's also a very vulnerable spot. Like you're opening up, sometimes writing really deep songs about
Mm,
personal things.
yeah.
And also you're opening yourself up to like you could say a line and people and you could be like, dang, they probably thought that was really stupid. And that's vulnerable to
Mm,
being allowing
yeah.
yourself to be silly or being awkward in the room.
Hmm.
But sometimes that silly awkwardness is the magic
Hmm.
that is needed in a song. And so yeah, like it's growing up, I think I noticed a lot of like sometimes like loneliness of just like, dang it, I wish people would understand like how much I want this. And I think a lot of people do want it that bad. And I think that's kind of the driving force. Like I never had a backup plan, dude. It was like this or nothing. Nothing. I wasn't gonna take anything else. And that's why I'm again grateful
Hmm.
that I had this opportunity and I just want I
Wow.
mean, I want to keep it going and hopefully change other people's lives doing it.
Uh-huh. That's that's freaking beautiful, dude.
Thank you, bro. I
Yeah.
wrote it down. No, I'm joking.
So, like, what advice would you give like a young songwriter? There's someone who like looks at this and goes like, I want to write songs, but I have no blueprint. Like, I don't know what to do. You know,
Mm,
someone who like wants to write for K-pop or like wants to just be a songwriter, like anything. Like maybe you when you were like 17. What would you say to that person?
Um, I would say keep writing. Like find people find people you really want to work with.
Hmm.
Work on your social skills. I really think social skills is something that
Hmm.
songwriters like don't focus on a lot more. Like sure, you can be an amazing songwriter, but I've also been in the room with some amazing songwriters that when I left I didn't feel like there was a connection to, or like I didn't feel like almost even a way like respected in some ways. And some of those people you don't want to write with again. I've
Right.
found that it's not just how talented you are. It's
Hmm.
how you make people feel in the room when you're done. Like
Hmm.
like I think that's more important. How people remember you is so much more important than talent. And I would tell them to focus on that. Really focus. Songwriting should be like brushing your teeth. Like you don't have to think about it. You just do it. That's what you do every day because that is your medicine. That is your
Okay.
drug of choice, you know? Like
Wow.
being obsessed with something in some weird way is 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 almost like not really a drug, but it's
Uh-huh.
something that you need in your body. It's something
Uh-huh.
that you want. And so I think songwriting should be natural to you. Now
Right.
what you need to focus on is in the room how you can make them feel like
Hmm.
be really like be really locked in. Like, don't be on your phone like scrolling through Instagram while you're writing with people.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
definitely give them everything you got,
Uh-huh.
and people will sense that.
As the
People,
artist, we sense that. If you're scrolling on
yeah,
the phone in a
I know,
studio,
right?
no, I'm like, oh, like really? You know?
No, just think about the message that
Yeah.
that portrays. Like,
Uh-huh.
hey, I'm scrolling through Instagram or I'm scrolling through TikTok while I
Hmm.
should really be locked in, and then that can throw somebody off.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like and be like, oh man, maybe this person doesn't like what we're doing, and that probably isn't the case. Maybe they
Hmm.
do like what they're doing, but
Hmm.
ADD is a real thing.
Hey, you don't gotta tell me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I remember like you were asking like when you were kind of like talking about like coming up and all these things you were and finding that big hit you were talking about like oh like why me or like what did I do to like deserve this like this wonderful grand thing. And I remember after we finished recording Go in the studio,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
I drove you home or I drove
Hmm.
you back to your hotel, and then you
Yeah, yeah.
gave me a talk in the car,
Hmm.
and you were like, oh hey, this whole thing is about mindset. Like
Yeah.
you have to believe that no matter what you do, you deserve what you're doing. And you have to be the
Mhm.
star in every single room that you walk in. And that stuck with me, dude. Like
Thank you, man.
it's like yeah, that's why I was like so excited to have this conversation today. I was like, yo, like Sebastian has some nuggets, you know? Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like
man. I believe it. Like, I really think. I mean, not even just as a songwriter. I mean, and more so as an artist.
uh-huh.
Because I really think a lot of songwriters were also artists in their own way.
Hmm. Hmm.
And some of them are just people that like ended up just having success in songwriting. I mean, Julia Michaels is one of the most biggest songwriters to ever live, and she also wrote issues and she released that song and that song did huge for her. So it was
Right.
like, was she just a songwriter? No, she was a creative the whole time. And so I feel like every time I would say that, like when I did say that to you, like I meant it. Like you got
Hmm.
to really believe and trust what you do, because if you don't believe and trust what you do, then why should anybody else do it?
Hmm. Thank you, man.
Brother, no problem,
Thank
bro. I
you.
appreciate you, man. This has been an awesome freaking time. I mean, and but I'm glad that I got to share time with you in the studio, man.
Mhm.
And I love the platform that you're getting on. Expressing, showing people insight into K-pop. Like it's such a huge industry, and the world needs more just love and sharing the way you're doing it. So I appreciate you for doing that, man.
Thank you, man. This whole podcast is about opening the hood of the car and just kind of checking out what's the engine behind K-pop. And thank you for being such a wonderful engine. Thank you for making this whole industry work. Thank you for everything that you've contributed. And thank you for your art. And thank you for being with us here today.
All right, my man.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later,
Take
brother.
care, man. Love you, bro.
Peace. Love you.
Bye. See you. Wow. What a first interview. What a first episode. Thank you, Sebastian Garcia, for your time today and shining light on the artistry that makes up K-pop. And this is what the show is about. I think I almost cried during this interview. And that's what we do around here. Okay, we get real. This is the K Factor. Everything K-pop, hosted by Beomhan. Me. And speaking of me, I have a single coming out. DUM, Dancing Under Moonlight, coming out this month. So please check it out, and you never know where we might pop out next. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next week.